So this is Josh Elledge with Savings Angel, and I actually have Nate Boyer, and we're going to talk about something that's very, very near and dear to my heart, and that is supporting veterans. I'm a military veteran myself. I served in the United States Navy for 5 years. You have a lot of connections there.
Army guy. Go Army.
Right. Yes, so I'm a go Navy, he's a go Army. That's totally fine. You know what? And tell me, there is this rival. Let's start off by talking about the game a little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously there's this history, there's this rivalry, but there are other rivalries in sports. But tell me about the rivalry between the Army and the Navy and how it might be a little bit different, particularly with this game that we're going to see tomorrow, which the Navy's going to win.
Yeah.
But
we're due, man. I mean, it's definitely a healthy rivalry, right?
Yeah.
And what's so special about it, especially for the seniors, is they're about to go into service. So this is the last chance, you know, to kind of get at your brother.
Wow.
I mean, really, that's what it is, you know, because once we get overseas and on the battlefield, I mean, I'd had plenty of missions where I worked alongside the Navy and the Marine Corps and other branches, and it's one team, one fight, other countries, you know what I mean? Other military from other countries, and we're all together in the fight together. So yeah, one team, one fight is the mission over there. But in this game, it's like kind of that last. You know, football's fun. It's a little bit different. It's not the same stakes, but it's. You know, they're fierce competitors, and that's what we are in the military and everything. We always compete with stuff, and to see these guys out there, and especially the seniors in their last shot to win, you know.
You know, and it's interesting as you talk to people about their preference for who they're going to support for. It's almost like, you know, when they're like, yeah, go Navy, but it's, you know, everyone like smiles afterwards and kind of nudges or whatever. It's so funny, you know, as opposed to, you know, like, you know, any other rivalry where it's like, you guys are going down, you know, and there's actually, you know, some pretty deep intensity to I hate you guys. You know, here it's like, hey, you know, but we're all winners. You know, kind of feeling. Well, some of the camaraderie. You know,
the other programs, you know, in colleges, it's like football's their most important thing. Like what the thing they really pride themselves in. And this is like, it's not. You know what I mean? It's very important. It's very cool, but there's so much more to what they're doing here because everyone knows what all these cadets will be doing next.
Oh yeah, we have so much honor and respect for the sacrifice that they've made, or anybody who has worn the uniform. And so that's what I'd really love to talk about today. And if you wouldn't mind, Nate, could you share a little bit about your background on how you've came to this point today, just so the folks who are watching this have some perspective about your experience?
Yeah, you know, I joined a couple years, I guess 3 years after 9/11. That was one of the reasons that I thought about serving at the time. I was 20 years old when it happened, and I started to go overseas and do several different things. And I ended up doing some relief work at a refugee camp in the Darfur. And so I was over in Africa, and it was there that I really gained my patriotism because of how in awe those people were that someone would leave America to go help them because of everything that we have here, you know. And I became very proud of that, and also, you know, we are one of the few countries that will go fight for those that can't fight for themselves. You know what I mean? And that meant a lot to me, and so that's why I joined. That's where my service came from, and my time in service completely changed me, you know, as it did probably anybody that served, and it has offered me, I guess, confidence, skill sets. A number of things that have served me in my life moving forward. But I think more than anything is, that just self-belief that I can really do anything. If you give me a mission, even if I'm not real clear on what it exactly is, I'll find a way to make it work and I'll make it happen.
You better believe it. So I do a lot of work with business owners and entrepreneurs, and I share one personality trait that I see and why I think that that veterans make such great business owners and become, in my experience, very successful professionally, whatever they do, is because when you're in the military, you learn something that you don't necessarily learn anywhere else in college, and you can sometimes, but there's this grit. And you know, you can really feel someone who has served within the military because, you know, they learned that there's no excuses. It's the mission, and the mission must get done at whatever reasonable cost. And so I think you kind of learn that personality trait, and I know that you did because you've done some amazing things then since your military career.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, grit. That's a great word, and that's absolutely what it is and what it takes. Especially when you're overseas in these austere environments and you don't have all the resources. It's developing those resources, you know what I mean, and using your network, using your team, relying on the man next to you because you know they're relying on you. All that stuff is how you make it work. And back here in the civilian world, the most successful businesses, sports teams, whatever, communities are ones that have that, where it's about everybody else, not about you, and it's about serving, the greater mission, the greater good.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of elbow grease, even if it's in the business world and you wouldn't think it's a labor-intensive job. That's what it takes, man. It takes picking up the phone, being willing to call anybody, and just find a way to make it happen. There's always a way, and that's we persevere. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We figure it out. We find a way, even when it seems like it's impossible, and we just don't quit and we don't sleep till it's done. But all those traits definitely serve us moving forward. But we're all human beings that just decided to do this for a living. We're not special or different in any way. We just made this choice. So everybody's capable of these things. It's been so ingrained in us. It's something that we're going to be doing the rest of our lives.
Yeah. So Nate, tell me about the work that you do today.
Yeah, one of the things I'm most proud of is merging vets and players. We call it MVP, and it stands for what merging vets and players stands for is we're bringing ex-athletes together with former military members.
Wow.
That are going through that tough transition and the struggle and finding purpose again and feeling like you'll ever do anything as important as when you wore the uniform. We're bringing them together, and they've got this mutual respect for one another and kind of coaching each other up and building a network, building that community and that team to go tackle future challenges, future obstacles, and really find purpose in life, and feel fulfilled and challenge ourselves. And all those things we need to do moving forward, just because you did them in the military. When you get out, if you don't have that, the service element and the challenge and all those little pieces of the puzzle that made your service difficult but also rewarding, if you don't have those in your civilian life, you're going to feel lost.
Yeah, give me an example of how you merge a veteran and a professional athlete.
So, at the simplest form, what we do is we meet up at the gym every week, and we work out together.
How cool is that to be able to have that experience?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
we've got some amazing former athletes that have been through a lot, and put themselves through a lot. Ryan Leaf's one of the guys that we work with quite a bit, and he was, known as the biggest bust in NFL history, and he had a lot of addiction issues. He was in prison, and then just these last 2 years, he's finally transitioning in a positive way. And to see him be there for the veterans too, and support those that are suffering, and be like, hey man, I never served my country, I never did anything as brave as you did, but I know where you're at right now. I've been in that place where you're stuck and you're struggling and you feel like there's no hope. And let me just coach you up a little bit and let me help you move forward and find a way out of that, because if I did it, I know you can because of what you've persevered. There's just that they kind of get each other. Those locker rooms are very similar, you know what I mean, that team atmosphere and aspect. So it's really cool to watch that part of it, watch the community build and that camaraderie, have those even if it's just once a week, to see those guys and girls that used to wear the uniform feel that camaraderie and be around and talk about a mix of branches. We've got every job, and they're all in there grinding together. And it's cool.
So what I'd really love to talk about is I'm hoping that you can share some ideas, Nate, of how just regular people, I'm just living my life. I'm a mom. I've got my kids. I've got a job. We're busy. I'm running kids to karate and gymnastics and all these other things. But you know what? I appreciate those who wear the uniform, have worn the uniform, those who have sacrificed, the family members who have also made those sacrifices in order to serve our country in that way. What can regular people, and I say regular people, people who don't necessarily run in those circles, but they think, you know what, I'm really grateful. What can any person do?
I mean, I'm not going to say we're not appreciative when people say thank you for your service. It does mean a lot.
Oh, it does, absolutely.
But another great question to ask is, how can I help you? And how can I help you? Because especially in some of these smaller communities and smaller towns, and when the veterans come back, a lot of them don't know what they want to do. They really don't know. And so how can I help you is a great question, because the answer to that question, maybe I don't know, and maybe you can help them figure out what they're going to do with moving forward, and just asking them what they're into, what they want, and then and use what you have to help, what you're good at. You know what I mean? We all have skills. We all have things that we're good at. And I mean, I've gotten help with building my nonprofit up on the tax side of things from people that just offered to help, you know what I mean? Because they thought it was a cool mission, and they wanted to. Because I don't know what I'm doing and that stuff. I don't know how to set up a nonprofit. I don't understand that. But there's people out there that do, and that's a great way to help. You know, offer your time, offer to take them out for a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever, and just hear about what they're interested in. And you never know what kind of similarities you may have in a connection. You know, don't just see us as a warrior, you know what I mean? I mean, that's something that we did. That's a part of us, but we're also just human beings that want to live normal lives too. You know, and there's a lot that you can offer. We missed a big chunk of growing up in a sense, you know what I mean? And we have some catching up to do. So there's a lot of assistance you can offer. Yeah,
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because in my time in my service, I served for 5 years in the Navy. All my other friends were in college. By the time I got out, they were done with college. They were already, if they were just getting a 4-year degree, they were already off in work. And here I was starting as a freshman and, you know, having to just catch up. So, you know, if we think about, well, you know, yes, they did make a sacrifice. Yes, it was probably a hard 5 years, but, you know, why should we maybe all chip in? It's like, yeah, you know, they really did, those who serve did take that time off. And for some of us, it was a few years. For others, it was 20 years. And, you know, it's not a high-paying job. It generally doesn't come with a lot of glory. You know, it's one that's filled with a lot of sacrifices. So that, to me, you know, aside from, you know what you did with those years, and I don't mean to monologue here, but I'm just like, you know, I'm thinking about this, you know, just rationalizing, you know, why, aside from just it's our duty to support those who serve, you know, we think about what actually, you know, what they did for that 5 years. And I think, you know, if we could just get everybody to just chip in a little bit, we can help them catch up and exceed that, you know, that, you know, whatever that period of time was.
I mean, because they have so many capabilities, and, you know, what we've learned, that grit and sacrifice and how to really work for something. We have all that stuff. We just don't necessarily have the sort of structural pieces of the puzzle, maybe. You know what I mean? We have the intangibles, you know what I mean? But we don't really know how to work the tangibles. And that's where someone that has lived that life and has gone through that stuff and knows what you have to actually get done. We know what it takes. We just don't necessarily know what road to take to get there. You know what I mean? And that's where the civilians can be a great guide for us.
So here's my homework assignment for the person who's watching this right now or listening to this right now, is next time you meet a veteran to say 2 things. Because I hear this a lot. Thank you for your service. That is so appreciated. It really, really is. And then secondly, from now on, Nate, I'm going to do this same thing. Is there anything I can do for you? I love that follow-up question. And then just listen. Maybe it's a connection. You know, maybe they're looking for a better job opportunity. Maybe, you know, they're looking to network a little bit, or, you know, that cup of coffee or whatever.
I'll even add this, pry a little bit too, because a lot of us will be so humble. We'll be like, no, you don't have to do anything for me. I'm okay. But they need something, you know what I mean? So just like, okay, well, what are you looking to get into, or what are you going to do next? You know, do you know? Or, I mean, just, you know, without being offensive, pry a little bit, because sometimes we're gonna put a little guard up and we're gonna be humble.
Absolutely, I see that. So Nate, I want to thank you so much for sharing this message, and I know that by the result of us having this conversation, it will inspire good activity out in supporting more and more of our brothers and sisters who have worn the uniform. And I also want to thank USA for sponsoring this as well. They have been a tremendous steward for veterans and active military, and I'm very, very grateful for their work, making this possible. Thank you for sponsoring USA, the work, this media day, and all the other work that we're going to be doing these next couple days. So Nate, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.